The next gen MG HS is here, and it brings a redesigned and an upgraded engine to an already popular mid-size family SUV. But it does sit within a very competitive segment, and that means that it's got its work cut out for it. So its features, like its safety systems, all have to be up to snuff. And in this video, we're going to see if they are. So stay watching. The HS lineup consists of 3 petrol-based variants, and the model on test here is the 2-wheel drive mid-spec Excite grade. Its nearest rival is the Haval H6 Lux, which has the same drive-away price tag, but the nearest big brand competitor that has similar specs is the Kia Sportage SX Plus 2-wheel drive, which sits at about $42,000 before on-roads. The HS has jumped by $5,000 from the previous model, but you do get a lot of nice features included now, like synthetic leather upholstery, a 360-degree view camera system, sat-nav, as well as dual 12.3-inch technology screens and MG's iSmart Connect app. But the full specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you want more info. The shape of the previous HS was pleasant if unremarkable, but this new gen offers much sharper styling and larger dimensions. And you can see the new styling in the redesigned grille and slim LED headlights, as well as the 19-inch alloys and lower starts. The new design should make it a firm competitor against rivals like the Sportage and the Mazda CX-5, who all offer much sportier vibes for this segment. The interior has had a thorough look in, with additional soft touch points scattered throughout the car that enhance the premium feel. A new steering wheel and a sleek dashboard that features an eye-catching technology panel that houses those 12.3-inch screens. Access and space for the front row is really good. Seat comfort is a hit or miss, with the driver's side being a hit and the passenger side being a miss. All my passengers have commented that it sits too high, which is a real shame because the driver's side is quite pleasant. Storage is a bit average up front. It does lack some of those cleverer cubbies that we're starting to see in these cars now, but I do like that you get a dedicated phone tray and that the glove box and storage bins are massive. The new multimedia system looks nice. The screen is a bit laggy and it is a bit of a punish to use while on the go because most of the functions are built into the screen with no real physical buttons to use. I also thought it was a bit weird that you can't access volume control from the screen. It's only from the steering wheel. The climate control is a bit dodgy and the AC can cut in and out, blowing warm air occasionally. The sat-nav is really clear, which is great, but it does alert you when you're entering a new suburb. And when you're in the city, that means it chimes a lot. Coupled with all the other chimes and alerts, which I will go into in driving and safety, it's just a bit too much. You only get wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and charging options are a bit basic with 2 USB-A ports and 12-volt socket to choose from. Big brand rivals do have it beat on this front. I'm also not a fan of the driver monitoring system's camera being positioned on this pillar. It's not exactly subtle. Access for the back seat is good. Space is fantastic though, and in fact I'd say class leading. Taller adults are going to be super comfortable back here with the head and legroom available. The seat comfort is also much better than the front, and the wide seats means that you could probably access all 3 top tether points if you have a few extra tots in tow. Storage and amenities are good for the class with 2 mat pockets, a couple of storage bins and cup holders, as well as 2 USB-A ports and a single directional air vent. My kid did mention that the windowsills sit a little bit too high for him to have a great view, but otherwise was fairly comfortable back here. The boot now has a larger luggage capacity of 507 litres, which is perfectly big enough for a decent grocery haul, but does sit on the lower end of the market. You get a temporary spare tyre in this, and you don't get a power tailgate, which I did find a little bit annoying because the boot lid is heavy to operate. The new HS has a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine that produces 125 kilowatts of power and 275 newton meters of torque. Both outputs are slightly up from the previous model. And if you are looking for variety in 2025, there is going to be a release of a plug-in hybrid variant, which is good. All HSs are front-wheel drives, and this has a new 7-speed dual-clutch auto transmission, which is mostly smooth. The HS has 7 airbags, including a front center airbag. It features a long list of safety features, but there are systems in this model which are examples of the worst intrusions for daily driving that I've sampled recently. I'm looking at you, driver monitoring system. But the traffic sign recognition tech is a culprit too. And honestly, you do have to turn them off if you want to enjoy the driving, because there's simply too many chimes and alerts and sounds happening that I find quite distracting. But let me show you. I had a good solid 2 minutes worth of alerts chiming and beeping at me with nothing on the screens telling me what the alerts were for, which meant that I was really distracted and focused on figuring out why the car was yelling at me, just as an example. But the full safety specs are in my written review at carsguide.com.au if you need more info on that. The new HS is much better than the previous model when it comes to its power delivery and its on-road experience. The power delivery makes you feel like you've got a really decent well of power to dip into, and it's delivered promptly, which makes this a very pleasant open roader and a zippy urban dweller as well. The handling feels well tuned and the suspension is pretty good. You don't feel too many bumps in this, which is great. I did find that the steering is direct as well, which made this feel really nimble, thus the fact that it's zippy in the city. The cabin is also more refined because you don't get a lot of wind, road or engine noise in this, and that just makes it feel like your senses aren't battered at the end of a long trip, which is awesome. It's great that this model now has a 360-degree view camera system, and while the camera quality isn't the best, this is a real plus for a family SUV. The only blip that I have found with the gear changing though is when you stick it into reverse to go into a spot, it can feel a little bit hesitant and a little bit reluctant. But other than that, pretty easy to park. The new HS has a low official combined fuel cycle figure of 6.9 litres per 100 kilometres, and based on the 55 litre fuel tank, you should see a theoretical driving range of up to 797 kilometres, which is very respectable for an SUV. My real world usage has popped out at 6.6 litres. I am very happy with that, but I have done pretty much straight open road driving in this with just a little bit of urban mixed in. The HS is offered with a 10-year or up to 250,000 kilometre warranty, which is the best unconditional warranty for this segment at the moment. The 5-year servicing program is on the expensive side, as services average $507, but servicing intervals are reasonable at every 12 months or 15,000 kilometres, whichever occurs first. The MG HS Excite is a little bit of a mixed bag. It offers great pricing and ongoing costs as well as space, and it's a very pretty package. But the safety systems and some of the tech need some serious work. But they may be a case of you get what you pay for. But it still offers a lot, and that's why it gets the score that's on your screen now. If you're after more details, check out my full review at carsguide.com.au. I'll see you next week.